welcome to this short training video to show you how your NAYS organization can set up roles and use your organization landing page to register your volunteers for their individual NAYS trainings. So I'm going to show you a couple of things in this video that should help you navigate through your organizational account. The first thing to notice here is I am actually logged in as this would be your name, but I am NAYS or NYSCA Online Clinician is my name, and my organization is the NAYS Parks and Recreation Organization. Obviously, these are test accounts. If you haven't already seen this feature, if you are a lead rep or a representative for your organization, you will have not only a organizational account, but you will also have a member account. So I'm going to hit that toggle switch right there and go back and forth to my user account from my organization account. And what you'll see is what your coaches will see. They won't see this kind of blue themed organizational page. They'll see the red bar on the top, and this is what their training site looks like with their training portal, and they can find their memberships and certifications here as the organizations they're affiliated with if you're doing background checks, and all of their member benefits to make them a better coach after their trainings. But I'm going to switch back to the organization account. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with this idea of having a landing page. So I'm going to go down to my organizational info, and I should tell you, this is just a custom photo. You can click on that photo and update it at any time and edit your organizational information. But that's also going to show on your landing page. So I'm going to go down to my organizational info and go to the organization landing page. And there's a couple things to notice here. The first and probably the most important thing is the URL that creates for you, the address that your users can use and you can use in your emails out to your coaches, to your parents, to basically show or to link right to this page. Now this page will look a little bit different when they aren't logged in. Right now we are logged in with your account. So instead of it saying register here, it actually says how you can modify the roles. So when we talk about roles, we're talking about the roles that the volunteers serve within your organization. And just by default, they're set up with these 4 roles. So a NAYS coach, that's a volunteer coach. The requirements for membership are listed here. NAYS parent, the parent orientation, a league director, and an official. Now those aren't all required of you, but they're just set up as a default. So what I'm going to do is just briefly show you how you can modify them. And again, we are logged as an organization. We'll come back to this page in a minute to show you what it would look like as a volunteer coach or a parent coming to get their training. So I'm going to go ahead and modify roles because we're going to look at these roles that are listed here and see how we can actually change them for our needs. Okay, so we've clicked on the create roles or modify roles link, and it's brought us to the roles and requirement settings for our volunteers. And again, you can see that the 4 that are selected. These are the trainings that are already in the system that are NAYS trainings that are set up for membership. In addition to the 4 that we listed, this is the professional administrator training. There's a travel elite coach training here, which is a little bit more expensive and a little bit more in depth for coaching. And then there is a custom role that I've already created called a NAYS safety parent. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna say, just for our organization's purposes, that we're only gonna have coaches and parents trained in our organization. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the league director, which is a training for board members and volunteers who are serving on youth league boards, and then the officials training, which is the training that we have for volunteer officials, actually, and for professional officials. That makes a great addition to their normal training. So now I am down to 2 different roles, and I'm going to go up and create a new role because I want to add one other role here. I mentioned the team safety parent a little bit ago as an option. So I'm going to actually create a role for a team parent that sits on the bench, a typical team mom or dad that might not be a head coach or an assistant coach, but their job, from bringing snacks to keeping order in the dugout or on the bench, these are people that are very important to the organization and to the team. But with all the different safety aspects of youth sports these days, and having an understanding that coaches can't keep their eyes focused on the different safety elements. And as I'm recording this video, a storm is rolling in is a great example of something that the safety parent can be in charge of. Not only that, maybe knowing how to use and where AEDs are, basic CPR, understanding heat illness and the reactions and the trainings that you would have for heat illness. So I'm going to call this a team safety parent, and I'm going to create that role and hit next. It really doesn't matter what category I select here, but because I'm calling it a parent, I'm going to put it in the category of a NAYS safety parent. And it's going to basically ask me, what trainings do I want to add as a training requirement for that role that I just created? So you can see the name of the role up here is team safety parent, and the category is NAYS parent, which I said before, it just isn't an issue. So now it takes me into the actual trainings that we offer, and you can see the prices. There's many free trainings in here. There are some that are paid, but we're going to start with the basic class, basic youth sports safety and first aid training, and it's a $10 course. And it's a really good course that goes through all those things that I mentioned about emergency action plans and AEDs and heat illness and noticing and understanding concussions and all that. And I'm going to add that training, that $10 training. You can only add one training at a time. It's going to ask me here is if I want to have a recertification for that, which means when they come back the next year or every 2 years or every 3 years, do I want them to go through that training if they're still in that role again? And I'm going to say yes, every 2 years. So if I have a team mom that's now in her 3rd year or a team dad that's in their 4th year, they will have had to gone through this training a couple different times to keep up to date. And of course at NAYS, we'll keep those trainings up to date with the latest safety information by editing them, so they'll be able to watch them again. So I'm going to go ahead and add that training. And then it's going to ask me, would I like to add another training? Because I have one. So I am going to go and add one other training, and I am going to add a free training this time that isn't charged. And we can choose from mental health and youth sports. We have protecting athletes for coaches. We have sudden cardiac arrest training. And I'm going to go ahead and just select this protecting youth athletes for coaches. And this one is a training about child abuse and signs and symptoms for somebody that's very involved with the kids to be able to understand and how to act on those things. So I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to say that somebody in that role needs to be recertified every 2 years. So when they go back into coaching again, they're going to have to go through that training again. So I've added those 2 trainings to that role. And then that's going to be an active role for us. And that's the last one. So just those 2. And basically those will be, have you added all the training requirements? Yes. Those will be the 2 additional ones. And you can see that it's $10. Do I want to add a background check to this for the purposes of this demonstration? I'm going to say no. The only reason this came up is because this particular organization is registered with our background checks. That wouldn't show up if you weren't. So I'll go ahead and go next, and I'll review the role that I created and make sure that that's okay, and make sure I don't want to add anything else, and I'll create that role. The last thing it'll do is it'll take us back to those roles and requirements screen to show you the different options. And again, so these aren't mandated. These are just, okay, and it's also going to ask me if the user pays or the organization pays. For the purpose of this, so that we don't have to check out, I'm going to select that the organization is going to pay for that training. The only way an organization can actually do that is to register for an account balance and keep money in their account. And I will show you, here, I'll hit close here. It's just saving. So the account balance is listed here. You can see in my account, I currently only have $3 for the organization, but once our trainings, I would load that up to, if I'm gonna pay for those trainings, I would go ahead and put some money into the account, understanding exactly how much I would need if I had 20 coaches and 20 team safety parents, how much that would actually cost the organization. So I have here, now I have 2 default trainings, and there's a little key here, and then one custom, then one that I added, and then the ones below that have been turned off. So now my parents won't be confused. They'll just have the 3 different roles selected for when they go to register. And what I'll show you now is how that looks for somebody going to register. Okay, so now that we've created our roles, we're going to go and take you to the process of informing your volunteers how they can get set up for their training and see how easy this is. So I've created an email, very basic here that you can see, and it basically just says, please register for your training. You can make this as unique as you want, obviously. When prompted, enter NAYS Parks and Recreation as the organization you're affiliated with, which would obviously be your organization, not NAYS Parks and Rec. I just said NAYS Parks. That you're affiliated with. And as you're aware, our league requires training for our coaches, parents, and our team safety parents. Here is the link to register for your training. So what I did was I took that landing page URL that I showed you before, and I put that in this link. So all we have to do as a parent is link to that organization page, and we're going to go ahead and go through the registration process. Okay, so the website came up, and you can see it has pretty much the exact same look, except now it has a register link, and if they're confused, they can see, please either register or sign into your account to proceed, because you might have coaches coming back that need to renew their membership, or they're going to register as in a different role, but they would go here to register, and you can see the different roles are listed to make it easier for them to understand where they are. So when I hit register, it's going to take me through the registration process, and in this video we'll shorten this up just a little bit, but basically have to enter my email, and I'm just going to create a new account here. This is a pretty easy process. So how am I involved in youth sports? For this person, I'm going to say I am a parent or a guardian, and I'm going to hit continue. So this is a 4-step process. First is registering for the website. The second is to give us some information about you as a member in step 2. So now I'm on step 2, and I'm going to put my actual information in here. And I want to be called John, and some fake information. And I'm at 1234 West 31st Street. Okay, it's going to ask me for some data that we can collect on our coaches, because we want to make sure that we know who is out there, not exactly getting anything personal, but in the general form of things, we want to see who's coaching and what age groups they're coaching and what sports they're coaching. So we're going to fill out the rest of this information. Some of it's mandatory and some of it isn't. You can see with the asterisks, so they don't have to, and they can always hit choose not to respond if they don't want to do on gender or ethnicity. And we're going to continue. And then here we are in step 3, which is where we gave them directions. It says, I'm affiliated with an organization, and we're going to search it by name. And I asked them to put in NAYS Parks. So you can see that it comes up with, well, these are all of our test chapters, but the NAYS Parks is only one. If I didn't see my organization, I can actually hit that and send us a message. But we're going to put the NAYS Parks and Recreation Department. And we do not want to add another organization because that's the only one we're currently affiliated with. But if you were coaching in 2 different leagues as a coach that required this training, you would put that other organization. So you can see the first thing it does for us, and this did this all by itself, you don't have to do anything. Under NAYS Parks and Recreation, we know that there are 3 roles: NAYS coach, a NAYS parent, and a team safety parent. So hopefully we've already been told by the league director what we are, and I'm going to select the team safety parent. That's the one we actually created, and I'm going to hit continue. But I could have selected either one of those other roles, and now we're just going to review, and I'm going to create an account. So this is the point where is if you had selected that you were going to have user pays, you would see the price of those programs. And we remember one of the basic first aid was 10 and the protecting youth athletes for coaches was 0. But now it shows that they're paid by the organization and they're in the cart. And down below, you can see that there's some other programs that are recommended by NAYS. These are free trainings for mental health based on their selections and the things that they picked before. But we're going to go ahead and just check out. And now we're at the checkout process, and you can see I have my 2 trainings in my cart. It's telling me that I'm going to check out with $0 because the organization paid for this, and I'm going to hit proceed to checkout. And again, if I was paying for this on my own, it would ask me for a credit card to go ahead and purchase those trainings. So here we go. Last thing here is just double checking that this is what we're doing, and we're going to process this order. So after I've processed the order, it immediately will take me to a confirmation that I've purchased these programs, and to ask me if I want to go back to my training portal or immediately start these trainings, or I could go back to my dashboard. So I'm going to go into the training portal just so you can see what they would see as coaches, and you can see where the trainings are, where they live, and we can actually just go ahead and start the trainings. As an organization, you can follow along and see the status of each person, and hopefully if your requirement is that they can't get on the field before they start, they can start each one of those trainings and go ahead and finish them up, and you can manage them. So that's that process. The sign up process, pretty easy, and I think you'll like it.